You had one of the highest, I would say maybe ever, that I've ever worked with, phone conversions right out of the box, like day one. You were converting at almost 90%, and there were some months you were converting at 100%.
During that time, I was just listening to a podcast, reading books, and trying to understand how the best experience can be created, and how I learned a little bit about marketing and phone conversion, how to talk to patients, how to convince patients to stay at the office, and I built SOPs and I wrote scripts. Last month, I spent around $20,000 on marketing, and I know that's very high. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want to work full-time at the practice. You can spend $50,000 a month on marketing and then get patients and lose them. There's also the team training our team, making sure they're ready to receive these patients. And so also it's very important to know how much this office can take.
Welcome back to another episode of Dental Marketing Go. I'm your host, Gary Bird. Today, we're going to dive deep into a practice, a startup in a very, very competitive market. Dr. Asker is going to dive in and tell us exactly how he got 122 new patients in only his third month of being open, which is insane. At the end of the show, he's actually going to share how much he's spending and his exact strategy. This is a great episode. I learned a ton. There's some hacks in here that I've never seen before, and he's figured that out. Also, he shares the scripting that he's using on the phone to get almost 100% conversion on the phones, which is insane. We don't ever see that. So this is a power-packed episode of one of our clients. You're going to love this one. Stay tuned. All right, we are live, and I'm so thankful that I really love what I do, and I get to come on podcasts and talk to doctors and talk about their success. And you have a very unique story because well, first of all, I really appreciate you listening to the podcast. You were just telling me like, hey, Gary, I listen to all your content, which is like an honor to me. It's always so cool to have people tell me that. But you have done so many things right with your startup. You've been open for 3 months. And last month, you saw 122 new patients. And like, there's some practices that have been open for years and not seeing 122 new patients. So you have done so many things right. And I just wanted to talk through those and talk through how did you get 122 new patients in your third month of being open. So just for the audience, you opened up at like the end of November. And then in December, you saw almost 60 new patients. And then January, you saw almost 90. And then February, you saw 122. And it wasn't easy. Like I know that you put a lot of work into this beforehand. But I want to talk through how you did that. So the first thing that I want to talk through, you had one of the highest, I would say maybe ever, that I've ever worked with, phone conversions right out of the box, like day one. You were converting at almost 90%, and there were some months you were converting at 100%. So tell me how you did that. Like, how did you get your team to actually convert that well?
So I'll tell you a little bit more about my experience in dentistry. I grew up in it. My dad is a dentist, and the first time I went to a dental practice, maybe I was like 2 months old. So I kind of lived dentistry from the first day of my life. And then I graduated from the University of Michigan, moved to Massachusetts, and got a job there. So the company I was working for, they put me in 3 offices, and their model was to buy different offices and just hire associates. So the first one I worked at was a Medicaid office. They had the mass health program, and they were getting a lot of patients, but most of their patients were coming through insurance because they take mass health or Medicaid, and they ended up with a lot of patients. The second office was a PPO office or insurance heavy office, but mainly PPO plans. And it was very busy. I enjoyed that model, and I was always productive. The third office was near the Cape Cod. It was more like slow-paced office where they would get patients, but most of their patients were very long-term patients from the previous dentist, and they were very loyal to the previous dentist, and they just kept coming to the practice. And I enjoyed this experience. It allowed me to see how the whole dental model works, from Medicaid to fee-for-service. And I don't think there is one model that's better than the other one. I just think that delivering the best patient experience is what set the practice apart and what make us successful as dentists. So I
I
started
totally
building this.
agree.
Yeah. We started building this practice in Flowerville back in 2023. So it took me 2 years to finish this practice.
Wow.
Lots of construction issues
Yeah, I
with
remember you had a lot of. Actually, you just refreshed my memory. You were going to start like
yeah.
6 months before, or even it was a long time before, but then construction issue after construction issue, right?
Yeah, and it was all related to getting like an electric meter or getting this permit approved. And then we had like issue like someone broke in the practice that broke the walls and flooded the office. So we had multiple problems happen. And during that time, I was working as an associate. Then I was working for temping agencies and going from one town to another in Texas. So I had a lot of free time on my hand. And during that time, I was just listening to a podcast, reading books, and trying to understand how the best experience can be created. And how I learned a little bit about marketing and phone conversion, how to talk to patients, how to convince patients to stay at the office. And I built SOPs and I wrote scripts. And of course, I used AI because that's what everybody is doing nowadays. But I thought, how can we make that more human and more friendly, not look like AI? And I built scripts for my front desk team, but also SOPs for the office, for the back office and the front office.
Wow,
And
that's awesome.
the day they joined, they're just like, they don't have lots of experience. So I gave them the SOPs and we spent a full week and right when we first opened, just studying these plans. And we talked about getting a new patient, how to talk to them on the phone, how to seat them, how to create a nice experience. And we also built a nice office. It feels fresh, lots of windows, lots of sunlight. And I really think that has like big effect on patients too, when they come to a place that feels like nice and friendly.
Yeah, open, right?
Yeah, we started seeing patients and we're doing our best. Also doing dentistry in a friendly and kind way. Showing compassion to people is very important. I think that's what's getting us the good reviews. I was looking at the reviews I have on Google and most of them are about like the dentist was nice, was friendly, was kind. And doing dentistry this way is very important. It's stressful to go to the dentist. It's not fun to be at a dental office.
That's such a good point. You know, I was just actually talking about this, is that patients actually don't know if you're a good clinician or not until years later. All they know is how you emotionally made them feel. Like, did you make them feel comfortable, or did you smile? And if they were in pain. That's it. And if you make them feel good and they're not in pain, they think you're the best dentist ever, right? Like they don't, maybe someone isn't the best clinician in the world, but if you're nice to them, the patient's like, oh, that's the best dentist ever. Dentist, I know, see it differently, right? You got to be good clinically and you can see things that a regular human like me can't see. The other thing, I've listened to your calls. Your scripting's really, really good. So I put down below in the show notes for everybody, because I already know everybody's going to ask me. I have the scripting down below. If you want to use it, it works really well. You got to hold your team accountable, and you did a really good job of training your team. But if you use it, it really works. The other thing that you mentioned is Google reviews. You've done a good job of getting Google reviews, but I know a lot of people are going to listen to this and go, oh, 122 new patients. That must mean he's in a rural market or there's nobody around. You're in a really, really competitive market. I just pulled it up. In your city, the top dentists have 2,000 to 3,000 Google reviews. That's so competitive. So you're doing this in a hyper competitive market. Why did you pick this market?
So I wanted to live in Austin, Texas. I thought it's a great city, and I think it's a beautiful place to be at. The cost of living is not as high as Massachusetts. And I was able to build a practice here because there's lots of growth and lots of new construction. If you drive around, you see a lot of new buildings, new apartments. So it's a good place to start a practice. Of course, not as good as a rural area because there's more demand. And one thing, we'll get into this, but if you notice in my numbers, when we get new patients, the new patient production is not very high. And this is related to the area we're at. We get a lot of patients because there are a lot of patients moving here, and a lot of them are young. They don't have a lot of dental issues. They don't need full mouth implants and bridges and crowns. So the benefit of starting in a saturated market that is growing, not only saturated, it's saturated, but there's real estate growth. There's also employers growth. It works very well, but the sacrifice is you don't get very good production per new patient because most of these new patients don't need a lot of work. So I would still favor the rural area. And if I go back to 2022 and I'm planning my project, I would consider being somewhere slightly more rural because people would need more work. Working in a saturated market like my area gets you a lot of patients, but you just see lots of people who don't need dental work.
Healthy mouths. Yeah. So this is interesting because a lot of dentists don't understand that how demographics impact the type of patients you're going to see. High income areas where there's a lot of dentists, big cities, typically higher dental IQs. They've been going to the dentist their whole life. So they don't have bread and butter problems, which is the easiest kind of dentistry to do and the easiest to sell. But there's more cosmetic opportunities. So you can do aligners, implants, veneers. There's a lot more opportunities for that, but that's a different ball game to do clinically and to market for and all those kind of things. Rural areas is different. They won't do any of the cosmetic stuff because they don't have the money for it typically, but they have tons of bread and butter dentistry because they just haven't been to the dentist. So that's an excellent observation.
Absolutely. So going back, I would favor a slightly rural area just because I enjoy doing comprehensive cases and doing like more challenging cases. Most of my cases here in the past 3 to 4 months are simple because most of my patients need either like some simple fillings or exams, just regular care. So in this practice, I want to focus on wellness, on bringing people back every 6 months, building a nice environment.
And they'll refer patients to you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Over time, that's the winning recipe for dental is over time that will start to catch up and start to snowball and they'll trust you more and send more referrals. So that you've done a really good job of that. The other thing that you've done a really good job of is you've used ZocDoc. Now, a lot of dentists hate ZocDoc. And I understand why. There's some things that they do that I can understand why some people don't like it. But you have figured out how to get most people have a 50% no-show rate for ZocDoc. Meaning, if you get 20 patients to schedule, you have to pay for all 20 of those, and usually only 10 of them will show up. That's the average that I've seen. You figured that out. How did you get such a high show rate? Almost all of them are showing up. How did you do that with ZocDoc?
So first of all, when a patient books on ZocDoc, they're most likely scrolling on their phone, trying to find a dentist. They Google dentist near me or whatever they Google, and they get ZocDoc ad because ZocDoc is spending a lot on like Google marketing, and also they have very strong SEO and strong presence, but they've been around for a long time too. And it's an app that does dentistry, medicine, dermatology. So they have multiple streams of marketing that I think they benefit from. And a patient books an appointment, but they're still scrolling. They don't know if they want to see the dentist or not. They're not sure if this is real or not. They would think this might be a scam too. So the first thing we do is we call them. When a patient books an appointment, they immediately get a call from us, from the office phone number. So now they have our number and they know that we're real, we exist. And we send them an intake form and multiple digital forms to fill. And they also get reminders for the appointment. So we moved them from the ZocDoc environment, which now we're charged for ZocDoc, is the patient book. The moment the patient books, now we have to pay ZocDoc for that. And if we don't do a good job converting this patient from a ZocDoc patient to a patient in our practice, we end up losing the patient. So calling them early on, right after they book, is one of our steps. Second thing is sending them text messages and reminders about the appointment and making sure they fill their forms before the visit. They provide their insurance on ZocDoc most of the time. So we verify them and we let them know that, hello, your insurance is verified. This is how much your copay will be that much. And this is on a separate note. One thing we're doing at the practice is we're very transparent when it comes to like pricing. So before we see any patient for anything, we give them a treatment plan that includes the patient portion, the insurance portion, very well explained. And I'm using lots of technology stuff for that. I recently signed up with a company called AirPay. They do insurance verification. So I trained my team how to use AirBay, and we use all information we can obtain about the insurance plan to give the patient the right numbers.
Are you in network with a lot of insurances, or how did you structure your office?
So we're a network with PPO plans only. I did not sign up with any HMO plans or any Medicaid plans.
Is your plan to stay in network long term, or is it to over time start dropping those?
So in my area, we do have to stay in network for a while. Maybe one day we can go out of network for some plans, but just considering that we're in a very saturated area, and also a lot of people who come to our practice are employees who work for tech companies or biotech companies that exist around us, and they have insurance. And they will always choose to go to a dentist who takes their insurance, especially very busy people who don't have time to look up this dentist or the other dentist. They just want something quick, and they want fast and quick and easy service. So for the coming 3-4 years, I don't see us going out of network just because there's the area factor. But if I was in a smaller town, I would definitely consider being out of network.
Got it. Okay. And then are you doing anything with like patient financing or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm using Cherry Payments. Cherry is good. It's pretty simple, and I like their digital platform. It gives us all the information we need, and patients, if they ask for financing, they would just scan a QR code and they fill the application by themselves. If they're approved, we can use these funds to pay for their treatment. So I'm satisfied with the service.
Yeah, Cherry's awesome. I love Cherry as well. Almost all of our clients use them, and that's a great one. Is there anything else that you have done? Oh, I know what I want. How much are you spending on marketing total? Because this was the number one question. So I posted, I said, hey, I have a doctor. They're brand new startup in a very competitive market. They're seeing 122 new patients a month. What do you want me to ask them? I posted that on Facebook. And the number one question that multiple people were like, how much is he spending to see that much? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people they'll start a practice. I've seen this over and over and over again. They'll start a practice. They'll spend a ton of money. And I'm sure you spent more on construction than you thought you were going to spend, because there's just stuff that pops up. And then they get to marketing, and it's like, okay, how much you want to spend on marketing? And they're like, $2,000. And it's like, oh no, you're not gonna get much from that. You spent a lot on marketing. So what's your monthly marketing spend to get to 122?
So last month I spent around $20,000 on marketing. And I know that's very high. I asked my accountant if they've seen this before. And they said, yes, we've seen it a few times, but it's not very common to spend that much. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want to work full time at the practice. For 2 years, I was just moving from one place to another, and it was just exhausting to go through the temping agencies or work in different offices. So I just wanted to be here at my own home and be working here full time and see patients at my own practice.
Yep. And you wanted to go faster, not slower. So you could spend $5,000 a month on total marketing, or $2,000. It might take you 2 years to get to full time, but now you're spending $20,000, and it's going to take you, a couple months.
Absolutely. So it's more like an investment, and you have to invest, expect a return. But also, it's not about how much you're spending. You can spend $50,000 a month on marketing and then get patients and lose them. There's also the team training our team, making sure they're ready to receive these patients. Sometimes we can get patients more than our capacity and create a negative experience. And so also it's very important to know how much this office can take, and if this team is ready to see all these patients, and if as a dentist I'm ready to also serve these patients the best way possible. So it's important to spend on marketing, but also receive these people and take very good care of one at the same time.
And I know you're doing a good job of that, and I know you're focusing on it because your reappointment rate is 80% the last 2 months. So that means 80% of your new patients are, before they walk out the door, they're scheduling their next appointment, whether it's for treatment or for their next hygiene appointment, which is huge. That's really good. So you can even get it up higher, right? You can get up to 90%, but that means almost out of 100 patients, 80 of them are like, I want to come back here. And that means they're going to turn into patient referrals in the future.
Yeah. And I think this part is on the doctor. No one, no team member can help fix this problem. I think part of what we should be doing is telling people that, hey, the way that dentistry works is you keep coming back every 6 months. We clean your teeth, and I also give them the mirror. I show them the calculus in their mouth. I would be like, hey, we have some buildup here. If you see this, I tell them why this calculus forms, where does it come from, and how it would affect their gums if we don't remove it. And then I tell them that you can't remove this at home. If you don't come back to us in 6 months, this buildup will get worse and worse, and we'll end up with gum disease 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from today. But I noticed that a lot of patients, especially younger patients, don't know what calculus is or what buildup is. They look at it and they're surprised when you tell them where this came from, and this is the natural mechanism that if we don't remove the buildup, it will just stay there, and your toothbrush cannot remove it. Even your electric toothbrush cannot remove calculus. And this motivates them and kind of creates some urgency to come back. It's not seeing the dentist. They think about the 6-month recalls as a preventative visit that they have to do, but I can do it. It's good if I do it. But creating urgency and telling people that if you don't come back for your next cleaning, you will come back with a problem 3 or 4 years from today, they're more cautious about it, and they will take it seriously.
It's so true. As a patient myself, I didn't realize when I was younger that neglecting your regular cleanings leads to what you just described. That leads to having cavities and other problems, which leads to gum recession, and all the stuff that you were talking about. And then eventually, if you don't take care of that, you need root canals or you need implants. And what happens is it gets more and more expensive to take care of the problem. It's actually really cheap at the beginning just to come in and get your teeth cleaned regularly. That's not expensive, right? But it gets really expensive, like a filling turning into a root canal that turns into an implant. That's just like you went from $500 to $1,500 to $5,000. That's a big step up, and it it's painful. It takes time and all those kind of things. So educating patients on that is so important because they don't know. They just don't. If they knew, they would just come in and take care of it, but they don't. How many hygienists do you have? Do you have just one hygienist?
So we tried using like temporary hygienists. We're having hard time hiring a full-time hygienist. I have an ad I posted on Facebook. I emailed the community college that has a hygiene program. So it's very hard finding a hygienist nowadays. And I really hope we as dentists.
You did all that with a temp? You did 80% reappointment rate with a temp hygienist?
Yeah, and I did a lot of the cleanings too. So on the days where we don't have a temp, I sit and do the cleanings because another thing, people expect the cleaning on the first visit when they come in. So if they're a prophy and if we don't do the cleaning of the same visit, they might not be happy with the service too.
You did an awesome job. This is really, really good stuff and a lot of stuff to learn from. Before we part ways, is there any other advice if there's another dentist out there listening? Maybe they have a startup and they're off slow or they're hitting construction problems or whatever it may be. Is there any advice that you would give them just from a mental standpoint of how to deal with all the stress? Because you've gone, all the things that could go wrong went wrong for you.
Yeah, I think building a startup is one of the hardest things you can do in your life. Just think about it. You're not building a tech startup. You're not coding and then building an app and hoping it sells and people use it. You're building a workplace. You're building an actual office, a physical place, but also you're building a small company, a small business. That is not easy. And dental school does not teach us that. They teach us how to work on teeth, but they never taught us how to build a practice or how to deal with insurance and management. I think education is the key first, to have a plan. We're lucky to have a lot of resources online, from YouTube to podcasts, to books, to also the experiences of other people, to Facebook groups. Utilize all these options, talk to people, and go for it, and things will go wrong. I mean, I never expected construction to take 2 years. I resigned from my associate job thinking that I'm going to be in my practice in 30 days. And then the contractor called me and they said, we can't open because you failed your fire inspection because the ADOR did this and this has to be done before this. And so it took us about 9 months to just pass the fire inspection and resume construction. And then we had another issue with the electric meter, which also took another 4 to 5 months. And all of these things are not within your control. As a dentist, even your contractor sometimes cannot figure it out because it's just a very hard system to navigate. You're dealing with the city, you're dealing with a lot of moving parts, sometimes like a landlord. So it's not easy to build a practice, but it's definitely worth it. Every day I come to work. I come to work at 7 a.m. and I leave at 7 at night. So I work for 12 hours every day and I enjoy every minute of it because I know that I'm building a house. I'm building a practice that,
and you don't have to do it forever.
My house.
And you don't have to do that forever, right? You're not going to work 12 hours every single day for the rest of your life. It's just for right now. It's a season. It's like when you have a kid. When you first have a kid, the little baby, it's so cute. It throws up everywhere. It's pooping everywhere. It stays up all night. It's like a lot of work and it really wears you out. But it's not forever. Eventually the baby grows up and kids are awesome, but they're a lot of work up front. Starting a business is very similar where things are going to go wrong. You're going to work long hours. You're going to work hard. But the reason you're doing it with joy is because you're looking forward to the future. You're not looking at your present and going, oh, this is so hard. So I love that mindset and I love the transparency, and you're going to continue to do amazingly. I know your practice is going to crush. Your long term, you're going to just absolutely dominate your market. And that's saying a lot because there's a lot of big time dentists in your area. So great job with that.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary.
Awesome.